What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. The international break is over and we are back for Week 8 Premier League predictions. But I said to you guys in a recent video that if we reach 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I would consider doing videos on other leagues. And I'm officially pressing the button on that. If we get 30,000 subscribers by the 1st of January 2025, then after the winter break for a lot of those leagues, I will also include, at least to begin with for the year, videos on La Liga, Bundesliga, and Serie A. Those are the ones I'm going to limit it to. I'm not going to do Ligue 1 or the Portuguese League or the Dutch Eredivisie because there's just too many to make, but I will do those three as well. And also if you want perhaps Europa and maybe Conference League as well as we get deeper into the knockout stages of those competitions. But that is the plan. Let's go for 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're only 1,500 subscribers away, so let's do it. Here are the winning accumulators we've given to the members over on Patreon and YouTube. You can pause the video if you want to have a look. They are the winning ones since the last episode. I mean, some of them up here are absolutely insane, and you can check out the Patreon using the link in the description. Shout out to Omar for winning the second Patreon member giveaway, $50. I really appreciate you and the support. And here are the new members over on the YouTube Members Club as well since the last video. Flashing up on the screen are all of the people that have joined the Patreon since we started. I really do appreciate the support, and it's the support from all of you that are on the screen and obviously all of you watching these videos that will essentially allow me to free up the time to make the extra videos that hopefully we'll be able to make. If we can get to 30,000 subscribers, that will suggest to me that you really want to see videos on all of those leagues and everything like that. So if you want to get involved with future giveaways, exclusive tips, you can message me directly and privately and personally if you want, or on the group chats, then join the Patreon using the link down below. But without further ado, let's get on to Week 8 Premier League predictions. Kicking it off, we do have an all-London affair with Tottenham up against West Ham. Now, Tottenham, how on earth do you predict them to do what they do? 2-0 up at halftime against Brighton, and they ended up losing 3-2. West Ham, on the other hand, they came away with a brilliant result against Ipswich, winning 4-1. We did predict that West Ham would beat Ipswich with both teams to score, but Tottenham losing to Brighton in that fashion is not something that I could have predicted. However, I do think, Tottenham, they are better than West Ham, and West Ham, it was only Ipswich that they beat, and Tottenham, they lost to a decent Brighton side. I think they're going to bounce back here, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Tottenham at home, and this is my highest value tip of the video. It's going to be Tottenham and both teams to score at 2.6. There's no way Tottenham keep West Ham out, right? The only team Tottenham keep out is Manchester United. Tottenham are going to concede, but I think they're going to win, and I'm going to go for that 3-1. Now, after this, it's Fulham up against Aston Villa. Now, Fulham, actually, if everything goes right for them this weekend, they could be as high as 4th. Now, in order for that to happen, Liverpool would have to demolish Chelsea, Villa would have to lose here against Fulham, and then Newcastle and Brighton would have to draw. So, not likely, but still possible. Now, I do think Aston Villa are a slightly better team than Fulham, and at Villa Park, I'd probably give it to Aston Villa, but Fulham at Craven Cottage, they're a different beast. They're a unit, and I'm actually going to give them a point here. I'm going to say a high-scoring game, 2-2 draw, and the tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.61. After this, we have Ipswich up against Everton. Now, Everton drew 0-0 against Newcastle thanks to a Jordan Pickford penalty save, and Ipswich, as we mentioned, lost out to West Ham. Now, I do think Everton are a better team than Ipswich, and if the score that I've given here doesn't happen, I think the score that would be a 1-0 win to Everton. But home form, home comforts, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to give Ipswich something. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and the tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.66. I think Everton should win. They'll fancy their chances, but I could also see Ipswich winning it, so I'm going to go for a draw. Now, after this, we travel to Old Trafford for Manchester United up against Brentford. Now, before I do the score prediction and everything like that, I'm going to go straight into the tip, and that is an early goal. Now, if you don't know what that is, certainly at least at Bet365 anyway, they have a market which is the early goal market, and they adjust the time in the game as to whether or not there's going to be a goal before that time or not when the odds are 1.83. And they've decided that for this game, Manchester United up against Brentford, the time would be 24 minutes. So you can either bet a goal in the first 24 minutes or there to not be a goal in the first 24 minutes, both at odds of 1.83. Now, if you've been living under a rock, you won't know that Brentford have scored in the first 2 minutes of their last 4 Premier League games. And for this to come in, it doesn't have to be a Brentford goal. It doesn't have to be a super early goal. There just needs to be a goal in the first 24 minutes. And the odds are 1.83. So that's going to be my tip. I don't think Brentford will do it again. Surely they can't do it again. Man United will be wise to it. But all we need is a Man United goal in the first 24 minutes. It can be from anyone. And Brentford and Wolves, there were probably like 3 or 4 goals before the 24-minute mark when Brentford slapped them up 5-3. But Man United, they, of course, drew 0-0 with Aston Villa. I think that was the lowest XG game on record, really. It was just poor. And Man United, they've only scored 5 goals this season. But I think something might be able to change. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between the two teams. I considered going for a 2-1 home win. I think Man United need a win. They're right down there in 14th, same amount of points as Bournemouth. And I could argue Bournemouth have been kind of robbed of at least a few points this season. So I do think Man United should win, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And the tip is going to be the early goal at 1.83. After this, it is Newcastle up against Brighton. Brighton, a phenomenal result against Tottenham, and Newcastle will be disappointed they didn't get the win against Everton. At St James's Park, I think this is going to be, it obviously favours Newcastle. I think at the Amex Stadium, I'd probably shade it towards Brighton. They've been playing some very exciting football. But St James's Park obviously plays into Newcastle's hands. I find it very difficult to predict Brighton games this season, in all honesty. So I'm just going to say it. I'm going to go for a high-scoring 2-2 draw. And the tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.53. So that is 4 draws in a row. And I'm doing something now that is unprecedented. There's 5 3 p.m. kickoffs this weekend. And I'm saying that all 5 will end in a score draw. And the 5th and final one, we have Southampton up against Leicester. Now, I think Leicester should be the favourites to win this game. And I think at the King Power Stadium, I'd say something quite simple like 2-0 Leicester, 3-1. Quite a convincing victory. But I think at St Mary's Stadium, Southampton can get a point. They need a point. They obviously took a lead against Arsenal at the Emirates. That was never going to last, though. I was very confident that Arsenal were going to win, even when they went a goal down, to be honest. But I'm actually going to go for a score draw, as I said, 1-1. And the tip, once again, is going to be both teams to score at 1.57. So that's 5 3 p.m. kickoffs. Fulham Villa, Ipswich Everton, United Brentford, Newcastle Brighton, and Southampton Leicester, I'm saying will all end in a score draw. Now, if I had to separate all the teams going through the 5 and not give a draw, I'd say Villa maybe shade out Fulham as the better team. I'd say Everton beat Ipswich. Newcastle Brighton, I really can't separate the two, so I'd just stick on that one. And I think Leicester could beat Southampton, but I've sat on the fence with all of them. 5 draws in a row, but no more draws as we move on to the later kickoff. The Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth up against Arsenal. Now it's not an easy place to go, but Bournemouth, they lost out last time to Leicester, handing Leicester their first 3 points of the season, and Arsenal came from behind to beat Southampton 3-1. I think this is going to be a fairly low-scoring game, quite straightforward. I'm going to go for Arsenal to win this one 2-0. And I quite like the odds at Arsenal to win at 1.66. I think I can see why the odds are the way that they are. But when you think the odds of them to beat Southampton were about 1.18, are Bournemouth that much better than Southampton at 1.66? I wouldn't say so. I know it's away from home. It's tricky, but I would put the odds here at about 1.5. Personally, I think it's very likely Arsenal win. So I'm going to go Arsenal to win at 1.66. Now, after this, it's Wolverhampton Wanderers up against Manchester City. Man City had quite the scare against Fulham. Fulham gave them a really, really good game. Wolves, on the other hand, they scored 3 against Brentford, but they conceded 5. I think Wolves are going to score here. Wolves have been a bit of a tricky team for Man City, to be honest, in past seasons, but Man City are going to win this one. I'm going to go for Man City to win 4-1, and the tip is Man City -1 handicap at 1.83. I think, again, that's really good odds for City to just destroy a team that are very low on confidence, that don't have their best players anymore, and just aren't getting points. I think Man City walk this one. Man City to win 4-1. Afterwards, Super Sunday game of the week. It is Liverpool up against Chelsea at Anfield. I think I'm probably going to predict the scoreline that most people are going to predict. I'm going to say that Liverpool shade this one 2-1. But I could see this being a draw. I could even see Chelsea getting a result. I'm not going to tip Liverpool to win as the tip. The tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.44. I think it's more likely that both teams score than Liverpool win, to be honest. I could see this being a score draw. I could even see Chelsea winning and both teams to score. I've got a lot of time for Chelsea. And obviously, speaking of Chelsea, their ex-manager, Thomas Tuchel, who I had a lot of time for, has been announced as the England manager. I'm very happy with that appointment, in all honesty. Just another bit of football news for you there. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. But I'll shade it to Liverpool 2-1 for the sake of predicting a result, but I could see Chelsea getting something here, to be honest. And after this, Monday Night Football, it's Nottingham Forest up against Crystal Palace. I'm not going to dwell too much on this one. In my head, this goes one of two ways. It's either a 0-0 draw or a Nottingham Forest win. And I've actually gone for the Forest win. I'm going to go for Nottingham Forest 2, Crystal Palace 1. And my tip is going to be Nottingham Forest draw no bet at 1.66. I don't see Palace winning, but I could see this being a bit of a bore draw. So that's what I've gone with there. So that is going to do it for the Week 8 Premier League predictions. If you did enjoy this video, please do drop a like. Make sure you turn on the bell and subscribe to not miss a single video. And as I said, let's go for 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And then we can introduce a bunch of new leagues into 2025. But that is going to do it from me. And I'll see you in the next video very soon.